digital revolution sweeping India, real estate has found a viable business to diversify into, that of data centers. Now, a data center essentially is a dedicated space used to house computer systems like servers, processors and components such as telecommunications for massive data storage. In simple terms, data center is a warehouse of data in thousands of terabytes. And data, as we all know, is the new gold of the digital age. This week, Yogi Adityanath, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, inaugurated Yotta D1 at Greater Noida. Here's a look at what this means for the North Indian region and for the country as a whole.
Welcome one and all to the launch of the Yotta D1 data center.
आज पहली बार यह अवसर आया है जब उत्तर भारत के अंदर हीरानंदानी ग्रुप ने यह एक डाटा सेंटर देकर के आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के न केवल डिजिटल इंडिया के संकल्पना को मजबूती प्रदान करने का कार्य किया है, बल्कि इस फील्ड में कोई भारतीय भी निवेश करने की हिम्मत कर सकता है, उसको साकार करता हुआ यह क्षण हम सब के लिए अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण है कि उत्तर प्रदेश की हमारी जो डाटा सेंटर की जो पॉलिसी है, इसने अपने पहले ही वर्ष में 20,000 करोड़ रुपए के संपूर्ण निवेश लक्ष्य को अर्जित किया है। भारत का दुनिया भर के प्रमुख डाटा सेंटर निवेशकों से 600 मेगावाट से अधिक के निवेश के प्रस्ताव हमें यहां पर प्राप्त हो चुके हैं। मैं आज के इस अवसर पर डाटा सेंटर के लिए जो हम लोगों ने अपनी पॉलिसी तय की है, इसमें हम लोगों ने डाटा सेंटर पार्क का छोटी डाटा सेंटर इकाइयों दोनों के लिए ही वित्तीय और गैर वित्तीय प्रोत्साहन की भी व्यवस्था की है।
A visibly upbeat Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh inaugurated North India's first hyperscale data center, Yotta D1, in Greater Noida this week, with a promise to make the Noida region a preferred destination for Fortune 500 companies. For Yotta Infrastructure, a Hiranandani Group company, completing the construction of its sixth data center, Yotta D1, in a record time of 20 months and ahead of schedule is a significant achievement in a business dominated by tech players such as NTT, Google, Amazon and Microsoft.
You'll be surprised to know that we are building data centers since 2012. We have built 6 data centers. In fact, we have built a huge amount of capacity in India already in terms of the buildings before that for other companies. Now we decided that in 2020 that we would think that this is an opportunity of setting up a separate data center business as a separate line completely, and this opportunity obviously came because we do believe that there is going to be an exponential need for data centers. Also the possibility of the kind of services that we can provide in India, which would be the best in line worldwide.
The first data park, Yotta D1, consists of 6 interconnected buildings offering a capacity of 30,000 racks for storage servers. Overall, the company has committed an investment of 39,000 crore rupees in Uttar Pradesh over the next 7 years.
The multiplier effect of this is going to be stupendous and enormous for India, the Atmanirbhar India, which the Prime Minister is talking about, the UP Sarkar, which is really going to benefit from the downstream, and the people of UP, NCR region and the entirety is going to see a huge different multiplier effect of IT and other services. Not only IT, but even the other services. Every field of endeavor requires the backup of good data services, good IT services, and this is definitely going to grow because of Yotta's data center in Greater Noida.
There is no doubt that data centers have become a critical backbone of the digital revolution sweeping India. Being self-sufficient and having one's own ecosystem for data storage, internet processing, cloud computing and IoT is critical for India's ambitions of becoming a $5 trillion economy over the next few years.
Big forays and big investments, but is setting up a large-scale data center which needs mammoths of energy, heating and cooling systems and the latest in tech a big real estate opportunity, or is it that the tech players will rule the roost going forward? Joining me are Vimal Nadar, Head of Research, Colliers India, and Ravinder Pal Singh, CEO, Gokaddal Technologies and CBO Data Samudra. Vimal, I'm going to start with you. Of course, we know that this is Hiranandani Group, which is a major real estate player, already has 6 data centers and this is their latest launch. What does it take to set up a world-class data center in India, and will real estate players do it as well as, let's say, a tech player?
Right, Manisha. So it's important that we set up a large scale and larger, bigger data center parks in order to attain international standards. Further to talk about to set up set up data centers of international repute, I think few important things which you should keep in mind would be, so today if you see there are about 40-50 levels of approvals which are required before a data center goes live, and this in a way takes about 2.5-3 years. So I think somewhere establishment of a single window clearance mechanism would really ease this process and would really shorten the timelines. So that's one. And then secondly, it's very important that we try to establish a symbiotic relationship between data center operators and to set up in order to the cable landing station. So it's so that the cables can be laid down between data centers as well as cable landing stations. Land availability is again a very important prerequisite if you're talking about in order to set up data centers. So location plays a very important role. Overall, I think somewhere it is important that a comprehensive data center policy is required at a central level, which takes benefits or which takes the best practices from global markets, and which also clearly lays down guidelines in order to how do we set up and what could be the best, I would say, incentives in order to develop a data center. Again, India has a huge advantage and potential to set up, to become a global data center hub, because we do not have a dearth of sustainable green energy. I think these are some important things which at this stage we should look into it, and there's a long way to go.
Okay. Mr. Ravinder Pal Singh, what do you think is India's advantage? I mean, I understand that if we are going to go digital, we must have our own data centers and not depend on outside countries for, any disaster recovery or any sort of backup plan. What are our unique capabilities that make us ripe to probably become the global hub for data centers?
See, data center is a very capital intensive business. As you just heard, it requires huge land, huge buildings, huge capital investment. But more than that, what it requires is technical efficiencies. Now, India, we all know, and it's globally proven, and we don't have to reiterate it, that we are number one in terms of technology today, in terms of availability of workforce, availability of skill set in this country, and availability of fresh graduate engineers from this country. Now, that is one big advantage what India provides when it comes to setting up data centers. The other thing about India is that being such a huge country, data is the center of this whole core. The data generated in India is much higher than any other part of the world, except maybe China. So when we have so much of data, and data is the oil today, data is the currency today. If you are able to control your data, if you're able to manage your data, if you're able to safeguard your data, then you are one of the topmost economies, and that's what India is going towards. We already entered the top 4 economies of the world, and now by next 3 to 4 years, we'll be top 3 economies of the world. And data is going to play a very, very big role. Number 3, when it comes to availability of resources, I'm not talking about human resources, like energy is one of the biggest factors in data centers. Though we still don't have, I won't say we are a surplus energy country, but the kind of resources available with us, the solar as well as the other traditional resources, we can become. So when we have so much of energy availability and we can channelize it, right? We have so much of workforce availability, we have so much of land availability, and we have so much of data availability. I think no other country can provide that kind of benefit or that kind of advantages than India having data center. We can actually call it the data center capital of the world in a couple of years.
All right, so that's where we are headed. But very quick question to you then, Mr. Singh. You know, you mentioned energy. Now, data centers are also big guzzlers of energy and water. They produce this noise, so they must be away from where humans are staying. Is there enough attention right now in India on making them sustainable? I mean, in the coming week, we have leaders meeting in Egypt for COP27 for this critical discussion on climate change. Do you think there's enough focus on making them sustainable for the long term?
The focus is there, but I won't say that we have reached that stage. But as you said, let me also correct one thing. Our last 2 decades, you know, I have been developing and designing data centers since 1998. And let me tell you that today's data center is much more quieter, much more efficient, and much more better when it comes to energy. You know, we use a terminology in data center. It's called PUE, power efficient utilization efficiency, which is the efficiency of power which we consume in data center. And in last 1.5 decade, that has improved a lot.
Okay.
Today we are able to offer a PUE of 1.3 to 1.4 to our customers, which means we are at least 50 to 70% more efficient in consuming energy than we were 15 years back or 20 years back.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, only one thing I should, since you asked this question, efforts are there, but there is a lot to be done on utilizing solar for data centers.
I would agree.
There are efforts going on, but if we can do that, then nothing can beat us in terms of efficiency and in terms of energy utilization.
Vimal, last question to you. Real estate versus tech players, who has a bigger advantage, or do you believe that both can coexist in this business?
I think data center is an interplay. It's a good interplay between real estate, technology, infrastructure players. If you consider in terms of overall cost and capital expenditure which goes into setting up a data center, real estate built-up cost is about 15 to 20% of the overall costing which is there. The balance 80% obviously gets directed towards technology, equipments, and other parts. So while technology occupies a major chunk, but I think both players have a pie to grab in this whole play.
All right, and it's a big play as we understand. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. It's a big development for the North India region. Greater Noida has its own data center launched by a real estate company, the Hiranandani Group's Yotta Infrastructure. When we return, we address one of the many questions that we've received from home buyers struggling with RERA orders on their cases of delayed possession and refunds with the right penalty from the builder. Stay with us because this is an interesting one for you to take a note of.